Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. This is Baking Budgets and I'm a 24-year-old budgeter here in Washington State, living off of one income as a family of 4. And today guys, I want to talk to you about an emergency fund. If you're new to the budgeting world or if you're very familiarized with it, I'm sure any video that you've come across, you've heard the term emergency fund. When I first started budgeting a couple years ago, it was just my husband and I had came across a video from Dave Ramsey, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with him. And at the time, I'm not sure if he still says this, but at the time he said to save $1,000 emergency fund. And as soon as we hit the $1,000, it was like, awesome, we are on the right track, we're doing everything good. But looking back at it now, and especially after going through the birth of our daughter, my husband losing his job, and we very quickly realized and understood that a $1,000 emergency fund could hardly cover anything for us. And especially now that we're a family of 4, the thought of having a $1,000 emergency fund, I wouldn't say that it is nothing, because something is always better than nothing, but to actually be prepared in a way that you feel at ease if some major financial difference were to happen in your life, $1,000 is just touching the surface of the amount that you really need to have an emergency fund. So today in this video, I'm going to go over with you guys using my real numbers, the emergency fund that I have for my family as a family of 4 living in Washington State. And of course, you guys can go ahead and adjust this to your own numbers. But as far as the entire process that you go through to get your numbers, to know how much you need in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months plus, and how you'll get there, all of that is all the same regardless of what your emergency fund looks like, and regardless of even how much money you make, and regardless of even how much bills you have, the process is all the same for everybody. So let's get into it, guys. When people talk about an emergency fund, I know that there are 2 types of emergency funds. Some people say for an emergency fund, it should be 1 month of an emergency fund is considered 1 month of your income. However, for us, we don't do our emergency fund based off of 1 month of income, because realistically, if we were ever in the position where my husband were to lose his job, we will not be eating out. We will not be getting coffees. We will not be going to the museums, going to the movies, nothing. We will literally be paying our bills, and that'll be the bare minimum bills as well. We will not be having any more Netflix or anything like that. So just the bare minimum bills, as well as groceries and gas and household items, of course, such as toiletries. So I just wanted to put that out there. So in case you're like, why aren't you budgeting for like eating out? Because trust me guys, if we are ever in that situation again, where my husband were to lose his job, our main source of income, we will not be eating out. So because of that, I do not make our emergency fund based off of what his monthly income is, equating to 1 month of emergency fund. Instead, like I said, it is our bills, groceries, and gas and household items, the bare minimums. So let's get into this, guys. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write all of our bills for 1 month. So I have phone is $76. We have life insurance is $97. Insurance $277. Netflix is actually now $7 for us, which is awesome. And then electric and gas, for us it varies, and I'm sure for you guys it does too. So I will just budget $150, because usually wintertime is the highest for us, and that's what it's usually around. Whereas sometimes in the summertime it goes down to like even like $80 sometimes. Gym is $39. Spotify is $19. And I know that I literally just said that we're just going to be doing the bare bones. However, if we had to like say my husband were to lose his job in the middle of the month, and then say we have our Netflix bill, of course we would have to pay it before I cancel it. So that's why I'm just including it here. But of course, that would be something that I would cancel right away after the next time that I pay it, or maybe even before I'm required to pay it, I would be allowed to cancel it. But for now, I'm just gonna go ahead and include it. So yeah, so Spotify, and then we have ortho for my husband's orthodontist, and that is $200 a month. And then we have car payment, one car payment, which is $500, and then rent is $1,100. And Disney is $12. Or yeah, $12. Okay, so these are all of our bills for 1 month. So I'm gonna go ahead and add it all up. Okay, so we have a total of $2,477, and then I'm also going to write daily expenses, and like I said, I'm only going to include grocery, gas, and household, because realistically too, we would not be really driving anywhere other than grocery store and back. So for groceries, for us as a family of 4, we regularly spend $500 a month. So I will budget $500 for 1 month. And then gas, we usually spend $60 every 2 weeks. So I will budget $120 for a month. And then household, I will go ahead and budget, I would say for us, I'll just budget $100. And I think even that might be a little bit more, but I will just go ahead and leave it at that. So 500, 120, and 100. And that would be a total of $720. And another thing that I also want to tell you guys about is when you are writing down all of your expenses for the month, please be sure to also include anything that you are currently paying on. Like see here, I have orthodontist. So my husband, we pay $200 a month for his braces. So make sure you include that, because obviously that's something you pay every month, as well as like a car payment. So if you also have, for example, like student loans, or if you say you owe a family member money that you regularly pay, or say even if you have credit card payments every month, please make sure you add that in your bills. And then, you know, as you go through in life and you continue to make payments and pay those things off, you can totally go back, look at your numbers again, and subtract that to get your new totals. But I just wanted to make sure that you guys are always updating your totals, because of course things change. I mean, for example, one thing is we just finished off paying one of my student loans, so that freed up $300 a month, which I'm super happy about. But then my husband now has this ortho payment, so now it's an additional $200. So there's a $100 difference there, which it doesn't seem like it's super significant, but that's why, like I said, it's important to always update your numbers, always check things, as well as even having like Netflix and things like that. You know, sometimes you might decide to just go ahead and cancel it, so you can go ahead and make sure your numbers are up to date, because the last thing that you want is to have an emergency fund and thinking that, oh yeah, I have a 3-month or 4-month, but your numbers are off and you actually maybe have a 2-month or something like that. So you definitely don't want to discover that when you actually are in a time of need. So always I would always maybe take a look at your bills and all of your expenses, and just to make sure everything and all the numbers are still adding up the same. That way you're most better equipped for any emergency situations. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write what our 1 month total is. So we have 2,477 plus 720. So 3,197. I'm just going to go ahead and round that up to make it easier for myself. I'm going to round it up the $3 to $3,200. So this is my number here. So for my family and I, we need, whoopsies, we need at least $3,200 for us to live without any income. We need at least $3,200. Now, there are many ways that you can go about saving this amount. It totally depends on how you want to do it. I have another video that's called How to Get 1 Month Ahead on Your Bills. And essentially, it's the same way. The way that I had explained it was you take every single bill that you have and you go down your list from smallest to largest. And anytime you get paid, you go ahead and take a look at your budget and see which of the bills you can cover for the next month. And that is exactly how we did it to get 1 month ahead for the very first time. So for example, I first started out with Netflix. Can I set aside an extra $7 on this paycheck? Yes. How about Disney Plus for $12? Can I set aside an additional $12 on this paycheck? Yes. So I would go through and I would check them off. And anytime we had extra income from me doing side hustles, my husband working overtime, we would set aside this money in a separate bank account. And I know somebody had asked me that on my last video about where do I put this money. So that is another thing. I like to leave our 1 month ahead in our bank account, and I don't use that money for anything else. I do not use that money to pay the next month's bills. I leave that money in the bank as if it were not even there, and I continue to save for the next month bills just using the current income that we're getting, because I want to have our 1 month ahead reserved for if there is a time that my husband doesn't have enough hours or income or whatever it might be, that is our absolute last resort, is to use that money to pay the bills. So because of that, I do not use it for anything and it sits there in my account. So the next thing that I want to go over is, so now that you know how to calculate your 1 month total, what is a good amount to have? Now, I would say a good rule of thumb is to have between 6 to 12 months. Definitely 6 months for sure. And of course, after that, you can continue doing the process, going through, doing your check marks, every paycheck you get, seeing which bills you can cover for your emergency fund. And ideally, you want to have at least 1 year. But instead of looking at it that way, I always love little wins. I always love celebrating every single milestone, because really life is so hard to hold ourselves to such a huge expectation of, I'm not celebrating until I get 12 months. That is just not going to happen, guys. Of course, you will get there eventually, but you have to celebrate yourself even in the small little moments. I remember when my husband and I first hit 1 month, we went out and got a coffee. Even something small like that to just celebrate yourself, make sure that you're doing that. So with that being said, what I would do if I were to start over and everything again, I would take it 1 month at a time. Once I hit that 3,200, awesome. Let's celebrate. Let's grab a little coffee, whatever makes you happy, walk in the park and celebrate that 1 month win. And then keep the ball rolling. Get right into that second month. Now you have 2 months. So I will go ahead and explain how you can calculate that. And essentially all it is taking your 1 month total and multiplying that by how many ever months you want to have. So like I said, I think having 6 months is ideal for most families, especially like in our situation where we live off of one income. So I would take 3,200 and multiply that by a total of 6 months. So our 6th month emergency fund should be right around $19,200. And same thing, or say you want to look at, okay, what if I want to first, or what if I want to do 12 months? You know, how much is that for me? Same thing. You take the monthly number and just multiply it by the amount of months you want. Multiply by 12 months, 38,400. And that's just how you go about to get your number. You just multiply your 1 month total by the amount of months that you wish to hit. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is, where do I keep this money? Now, I will say that this is definitely my personal opinion. Take everything that I say with a grain of salt, you guys. But I want to also go over the savings that we have and where we keep them. The very first savings that we have, that I've made a video about and I've showed you guys, is our 1 month ahead. Now, whoopsies, 1 month ahead. This is what I'll say. For our 1 month ahead, I do not include my daily expenses. Personally, that is just how I do it. I know I saw a lot of comments of people saying, well, you should add in groceries and things like that. Absolutely, I definitely think that you should, but just for me and my family, because we do have a pretty strong emergency fund, I just go ahead and do 1 month ahead on bills. So for us, the 1 month ahead on bills, so I'll just write that 1 month ahead on bills. This amount that I have has nothing to do with my emergency fund at all. My 1 month ahead on bills is just for my bills, because also, aside from just like losing your job, another thing that sometimes could happen is maybe you thought you were going to get paid and, you know, whatever, something happens, your employer doesn't actually pay you on that day, and then, oh my God, my rent is due tomorrow. How am I going to pay that? That's why I love having the 1 month ahead, just in case there's any mishaps like that, aside from like a super major thing such as a job loss. So that's why I like to have the 1 month ahead on bills as its own savings. And where do I keep this? I keep it in our regular bank account. And I already know what you guys are going to say. Why is it in a regular bank account? Why don't you have it in a high yield? And I will go over the high yield as well. Guys, personally, the high yield account that we use takes a few days for money to transfer. And because of that, like I said, if we were actually in an emergency situation where a paycheck didn't hit our bank account and we had bills due the next day, I need to have this money on hand. Because of that, I keep it in my regular bank account where it is very easily accessible. It is connected to our credit cards. It is connected to our checkbooks, where if we really needed to use this money, we could use it immediately. Because of that, I keep it in our regular bank account. And where do I keep it? I keep it in a separate account that is also the account where bills are withdrawn. So in this 1 month ahead on bills, it's in a regular bank account. It's a separate account from where we receive our direct deposits of paychecks. And in that account is also where I keep the bills, where the bills will be directly withdrawn whenever we pay them. So there's that. The next savings we have is our emergency fund. And where do I keep this? In our high yield savings account. So what even is that? HYSA, high yield savings account. All this is it is an account, it is a bank account that earns interest over time. So I'm sure you guys might have seen before in your bank account, sometimes randomly even, it seems like, you'll see, sometimes it'll be like, oh, a deposit of 5 cents, 6 cents. And you're like, oh, okay, like where did that money even come from? And essentially with regular bank accounts, and I'm referring to things like Bank of America or Wells Fargo, like regular bank accounts, those accounts, they earn interest on them. However, the interest rates are very low, such as 0.01, 0.03%. So whatever money you have sitting in that account, you'll probably earn about 2 to 3 cents a month. However, when you use a high yield savings account, the interest rate is substantially higher. It is like literally 4%, 4.3%, 4.5%. Some of them even have like these periods where if you sign up with them, the interest rates can be as high as like 5%. And I will include photos for you guys to see the difference in the amount of interest we earn in a regular bank account to our high yield savings account. So that is why we keep our emergency fund in our high yield savings account. Another thing that I really love about the high yield savings accounts is that it also usually includes buckets, so you can deposit the entire amount of 5,000, 6,000, whatever you guys want in there, and you can go ahead and subcategorize it, such as car emergency, pet emergency, house emergency, whatever you guys want, or just leave it all in there. Either way, it will still be earning a higher interest, so your money is earning money for you, just sitting there. So that is where we like to keep our emergency fund, which is our high yield savings account. The last savings that we have is just a general savings. And I'm sure you guessed it, that is in our high yield savings as well. For us, what we've done is this. Our 1 month ahead on bills is about this number, about $2,500. That's what we leave in there every time, always. Our emergency fund, we have a 12-month emergency fund, and that's what stays in here. And then after that, any money over that is just considered our savings. And what we like to have for our savings is money that we can use for the future. So our 1 month ahead on bills, we do not touch that. We do not use that. We do not spend it. Our emergency fund, we do not touch that. We do not use it. We do not spend it. Our savings, however, is any money that is over our 1 month ahead of bills, any money that is over our emergency fund goes into our savings. And for our savings, we can go ahead and we allow ourselves to use that money on things that we want. For example, if we wanted to buy like a vacuum or just something that's a vacuum's not a good idea, it's not a good example, but it would just be something that we are saving up money for to buy. So for example, our vacation, we went to Disneyland a couple months ago. So us saving up for that trip to go to Disneyland, we kept it in this account. And then in the future too, we were planning a baby shower. So that money that we were saving up to use for the baby shower, we kept it in here. That way, it can still earn interest in our high yield savings account. It can earn us a little bit of money, even though it's just a couple of dollars. A couple of dollars goes a long way over a course of a couple of months, especially when we were saving for our Disneyland trip. You know, that took us between 6 to 8 months to save up for. So over that time, we were able to earn a good amount of interest on it. So guys, today we went over what an emergency fund is, how to calculate how much your emergency fund should be, what an ideal emergency fund should look like in regards of 6 months to 12 months, where to keep your emergency fund, where to keep your 1 month ahead on bills, and just the 3 types of savings that we like to keep as a 24 and 25-year-old couple with 2 children living here in Washington State. I hope that this video brought you guys some clarity or insight, and as always, if you have any questions, please leave them down below, guys. A lot of times, sometimes people have questions that maybe other people have, but maybe they feel a little shy to leave it. So you guys, this is an open and safe space. Please leave all the comments that you want. And I was thinking that perhaps in my next video, I can make a separate video just answering questions. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. I will be more than happy to respond back. I will type it out there, and then I can also make a separate video of all the questions that I've received, because maybe somebody else has had that question as well. And otherwise, I will see you guys in my next video. And for anybody who's watching this video who is struggling right now or just trying to get a grip on where to be or what to do, trust me guys, I was exactly where you were. And we had a newborn baby and we had a dog and we were renting a 1-bedroom, and we have been able to overcome that situation just off of increasing our financial literacy. And that's what I hope to do today for all of you guys as well. Any insight, any knowledge is more than what we used to know before. So let me know if you guys have any questions, and otherwise I can't wait to see y'all in my next video. Alrighty, bye.